So after the brutal attack by Hamas on the Israeli territory, the country claims that it has just one goal in front of it, and that is to wipe off the Hamas militant group. Now, in order to achieve this, it has ordered for the Gazans to in fact move south of Wadi Gaza. It has given a 24-hour ultimatum to the Gaza civilians to in fact leave their homes, leave everything behind, and to go to the southern part of Gaza. Israel also gave a 6-hour window for the people in Gaza to escape. A mass exodus at this moment is underway as we speak, but lots of questions are being raised about this ultimatum by the state of Israel. Now, just a little while back before the sun set, this is what the scene looked like on the streets of Gaza. People who are desperate to escape from the relentless campaign of air bombing that the state of Israel has carried out were lining up in their cars, in their vehicles, in their trucks, and many often just walking when they had no vehicles to sit in. They are all walking away from danger, but at this moment there's absolutely no place in the Gaza Strip that is safe for the Palestinian people. And what is expected to happen, and it is difficult to predict as to when it will happen, is a ground offensive. This would mean street fighting in the densely populated neighborhoods of Gaza. Now, Israel claims that it has kept two routes open for the people to move. At the same time, it has carried out quite a few localized raids into the region.
אנחנו הולמים באויבינו בעוצמה חסרת תקדים. אני מדגיש, זאת רק ההתחלה. אויבינו רק התחילו לשלם את המחיר. ואני לא אפרט מה שיבוא בהמשך. אבל אני אומר לכם, זאת רק ההתחלה.
An impossible window had been given to the people of Gaza to flee. Just 6 hours to pack their bags and to shift their whole existence and move. Remember, we're talking about a population of 1 million people who've been ordered out of their homes. The United Nations has said that this kind of a task is a logistical impossibility, and it would spell devastation for the people of Gaza. Panic and chaos has gripped the region. After the 24-hour window, the Israeli warplanes have continued bombing residential areas during the night, hitting several homes. As the Gazans were trying to flee towards the south, leaving everything behind, many of them are fleeing with just the clothes on their back. There is little that the Gazan people are able to carry, and those who have cars are fleeing in cars. Those who don't have cars are walking. The Gaza Strip, remember, is already one of the most crowded areas in the world. Evacuation means that people are being forced to take shelter in homes of their relatives, friends, and in some cases schools, or in hastily rented apartments. Over 130,000 Palestinians have been displaced, and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency has said that at least about 200,000 Palestinians have sought refuge with the United Nations in its schools.
إبادة جماعية، هذا مش حرب، هذه إبادة جماعية، محاولة تهجير كل سكان قطاع غزة إلى خارج القطاع، وهذا أمر لا يمكن أن يحصل.
Now remember, in every war scenario, it is the common civilians who suffer, and the Gazan people are also facing another crisis on the ground. Hamas, which is in charge of the Gaza Strip, has said that this is nothing but psychological warfare on the part of Israel. It is advising people to not leave their homes. Hamas has said that it will fight the Israeli forces until the last drop of its blood. And it is asking people that if they were to go, they would never be allowed back by the Israeli state. The fear is that this is potentially a second Nakba for the people of the Gaza Strip, is what is playing on the minds of the Palestinians. The calls have been given for people to hold on to their homes and to hold on to their land, but many with no food and no access to drinking water and no electricity, who are desperate to try and save members of their families, because remember, there aren't too many people who do not know of a relative or a friend who's been killed in the violence that's broken out.
البيوت مليانة نازحين، أقل بيت فيه 50 و60 نازح، أطفال ونساء، وأنت عارف يعني حرب، الكل بيلجأ لمنطقة آمنة، قاعدين في بيوتنا ما بنفطن غير 4 بيوت انهدموا. نزلت برميل صواريخ أمريكية بريطانية فرنسية، مش معروف إيش اللي صار في المنطقة، إبادة جماعية.
The Israeli army and reservists are already amassing near the Gaza border. Tanks and other heavy equipment has been deployed. The next stage of the operation could involve these Israeli troops that are hovering and surrounding the Gaza border to move in. The IDF says that the Hamas militants are hiding in a dense network of tunnels beneath the buildings populated by the civilians. And therefore, the Israelis claim that they are asking the civilians to distance themselves from the Hamas militants. But all of this is going to come at a huge cost. A ground incursion will mean street fighting. And Israel has said that people should leave, and their leaving is just temporary and is a humanitarian gesture to protect the residents from harm while it roots out Hamas. But Jordan has said that Israeli move could push the region into the abyss of a wider regional conflict. Egypt has also warned against displacing civilians in the Gaza Strip. Turkey has said that the call to the Gazans to move in this manner is simply inhuman. Meanwhile, the Western world has been rallying stoutly behind Israel. Led by the Americans, it has backed Israel to the hilt, and at this moment it is difficult to see as to how Americans will change their tack. But as things stand at this moment, what is happening, without a doubt, is that it is the common civilian people in the Gaza Strip who are paying the ultimate price. This is what the plight of the common people at this moment is. All right, now to give us more perspective at this moment in terms of what, of course, is happening in this crisis, we're being joined in by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, who's joining us live from Tel Aviv. Siddhant, bring us up to speed with what is happening there.
Well, the situation remains concerning and precarious. So all throughout the day, we saw the developments, especially the amassing of the Israeli troops when it comes to the Gaza border. But essentially, when will the Israeli troops do the ground operation is something that will be closely watched. We saw those visuals of the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting with the Israeli troops. And today, of course, marks 1 week since that terrible tragedy, the terror attack by Hamas in southern Israel, and this is something that has led to a lot of anger here in Israel, and the people here are keen that the government takes strong action. The worry, of course, remains over the abductees who are still in the custody of Hamas, and there are now growing fears over their situation and their well-being. But all in all, it looks like it will be a long days and weeks before any solution comes, because there is another aspect to it. The raids which is being done by the Israeli troops in Gaza, and of course the Israeli government saying that there should be a movement of people, or the people of Gaza from north to south. This is creating a humanitarian crisis which has its own repercussions in the wider West Asian region. So there are, of course, almost hourly updates coming over the situation on the ground, but the big focus is when there will be calm over the current situation, but it is highly unlikely so far.
Absolutely. Now, at this moment, Siddhant, a lot of people are in fact asking this question: will Hezbollah get involved? And if it does, then under what circumstances will Hezbollah in fact jump into this conflict? Are you picking up anything on that front there?
Well, so far there hasn't been no public word or mention by Hezbollah whether they are going to open the second front. There have been skirmishes, we all know, when it comes to North Israel and southern Lebanon. But essentially, the presence of Hezbollah will add to the concerns for Israelis. Now they're dealing with Hamas in south and Hezbollah in the north, and that will only increase the worry for the Israeli government. Of course, the government here has has been taking measures. In fact, here in Tel Aviv, it's far secure now as compared to a few days ago when the sirens were blaring almost on a consecutive day. Now that is not happening for sure, and the Israeli government looks far confident this time, especially with the backing of the West. We have seen high-level visits to Tel Aviv, including by the US Secretary of State, the Defense Secretary, and European leaders who are showing their confidence in the Netanyahu government and the measure it takes when it comes to dealing with Hamas and other groups in the region.
Absolutely indeed, Siddhant. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining there and getting us all those details. We'll of course come back to you as more details emerge in the story. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.